Good morning. Welcome to our thought for this day, this Wednesday, the 30th of September. Our reading is taken from Acts 20, starting at the first verse. When the uproar had ended, Paul sent for the disciples and, after encouraging them, said goodbye and set out for Macedonia. He travelled throughout the area, speaking many words of encouragement to the people, and finally arrived in Greece, where he stayed for 3 months. Because the Jews made a plot against him, just as he was about to sail for Syria, he decided to go back through Macedonia. He was accompanied by Sopater, son of Pyrrhus of Berea, Aristarchus and Secundus from Thessalonica, Gaius from Derbe, Timothy also, and Tychicus and Trophimus from the province of Asia. These men went on ahead and waited for us at Troas. But we sailed from Philippi for the feast of unleavened bread, and 5 days later we joined the others at Troas, where we stayed 7 days. On the first day of the week we came together to break bread. Paul spoke to the people, and because he intended to leave the next day, kept on talking until midnight. There were many lamps in the upstairs room where we were meeting. Seated in the window was a young man named Eutychus, who was sinking into a deep sleep as Paul talked on and on. When he was sound asleep, he fell to the ground from the 3rd story and was picked up dead. Paul went down, threw himself on the young man, and put his arms around him. "Do not be alarmed," he said. "He's alive." Then he went upstairs again and broke bread and ate. After talking until daylight, he left. The people took the young man home alive and were greatly comforted. We went on ahead to the ship and sailed for Assos, where we were going to take Paul abroad. He made this arrangement because he was going there on foot. When he met us at Assos, we took him abroad and went on to Mytilene. The next day we set sail from there and arrived off Chios. The day after that we crossed over to Samos, and on the following day arrived at Miletus. Paul had decided to sail past Ephesus to avoid spending time in the province of Asia, for he was in a hurry to reach Jerusalem, if possible by the day of Pentecost. Well, here's an epic journey as Paul travels around Macedonia. In this time of lockdown, under the rampant spread of COVID-19, we would all like to get away and perhaps to travel. I know I'd like to see my father in South Africa. We'd all like to go to places we haven't been yet, or maybe just visit family and friends we haven't seen this year. It's been hard for many of us. Some of us were going on virtual holidays or reading travel epics and stories. One such adventure travelogue is in our story today. Paul is the hero in this story of Acts. Like Jesus before him, Paul is beginning to travel towards Jerusalem. As verse 16 tells us, he was in a hurry to be in Jerusalem. The reason for his visit was to bring aid to the beleaguered community facing famine. He had a lot of people traveling with him to protect the large sums of money and food he was taking to the Christians in Jerusalem. Given Paul's history of interacting with Jews and his mission in life to take the gospel wherever he went, one can only imagine that he would have been might be badly received in Jerusalem. We also call to mind the quotation from Matthew 23, verse 7. "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who killed the prophets and stoned those who sent you." We sometimes talk very easy and lightly about behaving like Christ, without appreciating how costly this might become. Equally, there can be a tendency to exalt any sign of social isolation, even if it has been self-inflicted, as a validating form of persecution endured for the Lord's sake. Paul is having to steer a difficult emotional course on his slow journey back to Jerusalem, a city that had never fully understood him and had even struggled to get to grips with his theology. His visit to Jerusalem may have been driven by generosity, but I also suspect by a desire for recognition. So, under COVID and all the thing that's going on in the world today, what journey are you on? Think through your journey and then reflect on Paul's journey. He had a complex mixture of motives, raising questions. Do you have a complex set of motives that raise questions for you today? How far can we depend on those with whom we live and work? How often do we sacrifice the integrity of our calling and what God wants us to do just to be socially acceptable? How willing are we to make a stand, and often alone before God? How resilient is our faith? How much do we trust or allow God to shape our future, especially when this involves risk? These questions, and others like them, may not easily be answered, but they have to be asked. Take this time of lockdown to be real with yourself and God. Think through what God is calling you to do. As you do this, may He bless you and guide you as you wrestle with Him. Maybe God will even give you the task of raising someone from the dead, or some other miracle to go with you as you seek to serve Him. He is the God of miracles. May God bless you today and this week.